Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Suncoast Credit Union Arena here in Fort Myers, Florida, for the final day of the Maryland Terrapins road trip here on Thanksgiving weekend, the rubber game, so to speak, for both of these teams as the Terrapins take on Pittsburgh. Both teams with wins against Towson and losses against DePaul so far this weekend. So the winner here will finish 2-1 for the weekend. Maryland looking to hang on to their national ranking at number 14 in the AP poll this week. And a 2-1 weekend should keep them in the top 25. Maryland with a much better showing yesterday against the Towson Tigers. 4 players in double digits for Maryland. The same 4 players that scored in double digits on Friday as well. But yesterday, Diamond Miller came alive, 20 points, 7 rebounds on 8 out of 12 shooting. She was 3 for 12 from the field on Friday. So that turnaround alone for Diamond Miller really got the Terps going. Maryland shot only 32% in the loss against DePaul. They shot 49% yesterday in an 81-70 victory over their in-state rivals, the Towson Tigers. The 2 opponents from these teams the last 2 days will play each other this afternoon in the final game of this Elevance Health Fort Myers tip-off, as Towson and DePaul play the final game at 2 p.m. today. This is our early game. Both Maryland and Pittsburgh will be heading back home after this game, which will get going just after 11:30. So roughly 6 or 7 minutes from now, we will have tip-off from the Suncoast Credit Union Arena. Maryland also dominated in the paint yesterday against Towson, 34-24 in that category, and really limited the top players for the Tigers. Kylie Cornegay-Lucas, their leading scorer, was just 6 for 24 from the field, so credit Maryland's defense there. She did have 8 assists in the performance, so Cornegay-Lucas passed well for Towson, but Maryland's defense was much better, and that's something that Brenda Fries highlighted in her post-game press conference. Really strong play across the board from some of the veterans on this team. Faith Masonis in double digits in both games, along with Diamond Miller, the Princeton transfer Abby Myers, and the sophomore Cheyenne Sellers, who, by the way, was also considering Pittsburgh when she was coming out of high school in Aurora, Ohio. So it's Maryland versus Pitt. The Terps will be in the white uniforms today, and the Panthers in the gold. Before we send it down to the PA announcer, Alan Woodard, we do want to congratulate head coach Mike Loxley and the Maryland football team for their win yesterday over Rutgers, finishing the regular season at 7-5 in a bowl-bound Terrapin football team yet again this season. The buzzer has sounded here at this cozy 3,500-seat venue in Fort Myers, Florida. Let's send it down to the court. Here is your PA announcer, Alan Woodard, for the national anthem and starting lineups.
Final day of the Elevance Health Fort Myers women's tip-off, featuring the designated road team on the scoreboard, the Pitt Panthers, and the designated home team on the scoreboard, the Maryland Terrapins. At this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your caps to be playing our national anthem. now let's meet the starting lineups. First, there's a road team in Pitt Panthers. At guard, 5'7" senior from Youngstown, Ohio, #1, Daishanette Harris. At forward, a 6' junior from Washington, D.C., #2, Leah Chu King. At guard, a 5'8" senior from the Netherlands, #4, Amy Hayford. At forward, a 6' senior from Monroe, Louisiana, #5, Amber Brown. And at forward, a 6' sophomore from Columbus, Ohio, #21, Malia Johnson. The head coach for the Panthers this 5th season is Lance White. And now, the starting lineups for the home team, the Maryland Terrapins. At guard, 6'2" sophomore from Aurora, Ohio, #0, Cheyenne Sellers. At guard, a 6'3" senior from Somerset, New Jersey, #1, Diamond Miller. At guard, a 6' senior from Potomac, Maryland, #10, Abby Myers. At guard, a 5'8" grad from Italy, #12, Elisa Pinzon. And at guard, a 6' senior from Belmont, New Jersey, #13, Peyton Marcellus. Head coach for the Terrapins in her 21st season is Brenda Freeze.
We bring you inside the Suncoast Credit Union Arena here in Fort Myers, Florida for the final day of the Elevance Health Fort Myers tip-off as your 14th ranked Maryland Terrapins take on the Pitt Panthers. Welcome in, everyone. I'm John Vittas, streaming here on the One Maryland app, as well as the Maryland Women's Basketball YouTube page. We're on FSWBucks.com as well. Excited to bring you the action here on the final day of this event. Started back on Monday with their men's bracket. And it's the Terps and the Panthers. For a very brief time, they were ACC rivals back about 7 or 8 years ago before Maryland moved to the Big Ten. Panthers still in the ACC. They are in their bright yellow uniforms for this one. Yellow up and down with navy blue lettering, Pitt across the chest in navy. And the Terps back to their home whites with the red trim and the Maryland flag at the bottom of the shorts. Diamond Miller will take the tip, and she flips it back to her teammates. Maryland wins the tip. They will move from right to left in those white unis. Here is Elisa Pinzon with it up top. Finds Diamond Miller, right wing. Now it's Massonis. The hand to Miller. Miller wants to drive, and they call a travel on the first possession as Miller accelerated towards the rim. As always, your Terps led by 21st-year head coach Brenda Freeze. A .790 winning percentage in her career at Maryland. Has been to the NCAA tournament in 18 of her 20 seasons and 10 Sweet 16s in that time, as well as the 2006 National Championship. Pittsburgh moving from left to right. Their first pass of the day is intercepted. Miller bats it to herself. Or rather, that was Sellers batting it to herself. Up ahead to Miller. Terps work it around the arc. Quick ball movement early. Diamond Miller, corner three from the wing, and it's no good. Knocked around underneath. Abby Myers gets the offensive rebound on the baseline and resets to Pinzon for Maryland. No score, close to a minute in from Fort Myers. Miller will use the Massonis screen, dribbles right, looking for a teammate. Now bounce pass to Massonis, top of the key. Getting inside, it's Myers. She is loose, and Abby Myers lays it in on the far block. An easy layup for the Princeton transfer, who totally lost that Panther defense. A little pressure from Maryland early. A good look, though, from the wing, and the three-pointer is good for Malia Johnson. Johnson played just 17 minutes as the starter yesterday. The Panthers will rotate 12 players. Sellers kicks to the far side. Myers open for three. That's too strong, and the rebound down to the Panthers. They head back the other way, a minute and a half in. On the far side, that is Johnson, resetting it to Hayford up top, who will handle the basketball for a lot of the day for the Panthers. And now a trap underneath. Amber Brown can't touch it, has to get it to a teammate. Hayford resets. Shot clock, though, under 10 for Pittsburgh. They swing it left for Johnson. Johnson, a jab step, now to the free throw line, gets Miller in the air, fades away from that free throw line, didn't get the jumper. It's knocked out of bounds. It'll go to the Terps.
Substitution
Brenda Freeze already dipping into the bench as Brene Alexander checks in for Sellers. Sellers has been primarily coming in off the bench for Maryland this year. And it's actually going to be Miller to come out. So Sellers at the last second is told to stay in, and Diamond Miller will get an early breather. As she has in all 3 games, she's been taken out multiple times in the first half of all 3 games in this tournament. Both teams 1-1 so far this weekend. As Myers gets it to the corner, Sellers, a fadeaway 2-point jumper, is short. Alexander got a hand on it, but it ends up with the Panthers. Credit the rebound to Leah 2 King, who averages close to 11 rebounds per game for Pitt. King pulls up from the free throw line and hits the jumper, and the Panthers go up 5-2. Pinzon will bring it up for Maryland, swings it left for Myers, now into the corner. Alexander probes the baseline, and the help defense comes. They'll call a foul against Pitt, and it should be 2 free throws coming for the Terps. Maryland going to play against one of their former players today. Shanice Lewis is out there right now for Pitt. She did not play in the first 2 games of this event. Went to Miami Country Day High School and then on to Maryland. 4 years for the Terps, but had to battle through knee injuries. As the first free throw is good for Alexander to make it 5-3 Pitt. Lewis played 31 minutes against George Mason earlier this month, but has been limited in her time so far with the Panthers. But Lewis, number 10 in gold, is out there right now against her former team. Panthers to the near side with Myers playing defense. Now a reset at the top of the key. That is Deshaunette Harris, who was the catalyst offensively for them yesterday. Bank shot is off the mark from Brown. Offensive rebound for the Panthers. Far side now. The drive by Lewis. Now the pull-up from Harris is no good. It's tapped around. Offensive rebound. Harris up with it again. That's no good. Knocked around along the baseline, and they're going to give it to Maryland. Despite an argument on the Panthers side, that is Leah 2 King claiming that it should be Pittsburgh ball, but Maryland will take it with 6:59 to go in the first quarter. It's the Panthers 5 and the Terrapins 4 here on the early going. It hasn't been, red-hot starts for Maryland in this tournament, and still just kind of a lukewarm beginning to this one. Myers, though, is open for 3, and it heats up a little bit more for the Terps as they take the lead on the Abby Myers 3. It's now 7-5 Maryland. Terps extending that pressure beyond the arc. They dump it to the baseline. Brown has to back up now, tried to go in on Alexander and could not. Here's a 3 for Lewis. It's off the side of the rim. Alexander tapped it, but the Panthers come in to recover it. Now they go to the floor for it in the paint, and it's going to be a jump ball. The arrow will keep it on this end. And so it'll be Panther basketball with 6:22 on the clock. And now coming off the bench for Pitt is Gabby Hutcherson. Hutcherson was their leading scorer in yesterday's loss to DePaul, but leading scorer at only 10 points and 6 rebounds in 22 minutes of action. Nobody played more than 24 minutes for the Panthers in yesterday's loss. This is Avery Strickland in for the first time. Gets it up top. Now they dump it to the free throw line. Into the corner it goes. On the drive, it's Johnson. Had to give it up. Almost overshot her teammate. Lewis, though, will try the 3 in the face of Sellers. That's no good. Knocked around, and this time they're going to keep it with Pitt, even though I thought it was off Hutcherson. As Diamond Miller returns for the Terps. Well, they did this yesterday. Pinzon comes out, and Gia Cook does not come in. No true point guard out there for Maryland. We see Sellers handling the ball a lot in this spot. Oh, Johnson almost slipped, able to outlet it to a teammate on the wing. Johnson, the ball fake from the wing, pulls up, and Miller gets the block. Miller now ahead of the pack, gets the feed from Masonis, and it's a wide-open breakaway for Diamond Miller, who lays it in to make it 9-5 Maryland. Masonis has been in the middle of everything this weekend for the Terps. Able to jump all over that loose ball and quickly fire it over the defense to a cutting Diamond Miller. Strickland now buried in the corner with 7 to shoot. Hutcherson back to Strickland. A good look for Strickland. And she misses the 3. Diamond Miller there for the rebound. Miller pushing for Maryland already with a 4-point lead. Miller to the left side for Alexander. Alexander thought about shooting. She'll drive instead, pulls up at the elbow. Two-point jumper is short, and the rebound brought in by Hutcherson. This is Lewis the other way. Near side for Strickland. Strickland changes direction and resets. They work it around. Open look. Lewis for three from the wing. That's no good. Rebound to Abby Myers. Myers ahead to Miller. Miller ahead of the defense again. Jab step in the lane. Righty scoop shot goes down. Really tough angle in the face of her former teammate Shanice Lewis. And Diamond Miller is able to score, and it's 11-5 Maryland. What a difference it makes when Diamond Miller has her teeth sunk in early. Maryland with a 6-point lead here in the first quarter. Crossover dribble. Hutcherson gets through the defense, draws the foul. It'll likely be on the floor. It will be a reach in on Abby Myers. That'll take us to our first media timeout of this game. Maryland with an 11-5 lead on the Panthers. We will be right back on the Maryland Radio Network.
T-shirt toss. If you want a t-shirt, make some noise.
John Vittas welcoming you back to Fort Myers, Florida. Maryland has jumped out to an 11-5 lead. They are on a 9-0 run over the last 3 minutes. The Panthers, meanwhile, have missed 8 shots in a row. Pittsburgh just 2 for 11 from the field. They get it into the far corner. On the drive, they have to give it up. Here's Lewis on the near side, and she hits the jumper. That's a long 2 for Shanice Lewis, who scored over 350 points for Maryland before transferring as a graduate student to Pitt. And now a foul on the other end against Daishanette Harris. Well, as you might expect for a team who rotates 12 players, nobody with more than 11 points for the Panthers. King with 11, Harris 10.2. The only players who average double figures for the Panthers. Myers with it on the near side for Maryland. Bounce pass to Miller. Miller top of the arc defended by Hayford. Myers puts it on the floor, gets to the baseline, pulls up from 10 feet, and didn't get the roll. Miller down there for the offensive rebound, guarded by 3 Panthers, got it up on the rim, missed it though. Second effort isn't there, no call, and now finally we get a whistle as 2 players go tumbling to the floor near the baseline. It'll be a jump ball, and Maryland will get the possession. Great effort from Miller down low, despite missing both shots. I think Coach Freeze loves the effort early from Diamond Miller, who has 4 points and 4 rebounds in 4 minutes so far. They tried to free her up off a screen. Instead, they get it to Lavender Briggs. Corner jumper now for Sellers is off the mark, and Miller gets another offensive rebound. Leans in through 2 defenders, missed the lefty scoop shot. And then a foul against Sellers, who came over to try and steal it from Leatu King. And so the Panthers will have possession down by 4. And here comes the freshman, Gia Cook, who will replace Cheyenne Sellers. Cook has had a marvelous weekend so far for Maryland. The freshman who has played the most minutes, lightning quick point guard, had a career-high 10 points in Friday's game against DePaul. So Cook at the top of the full court pressure here for Maryland. As Pitt works it across midcourt, this is Hayford. Gets it to the near side for Harris. They work it around towards the far side. Lewis playing a large role early against her former team. Lewis pulls up from the elbow, a great look, and she knocks it down. Shanice Lewis with 2 points for Pitt. And it's down to a 2-point game with Maryland leading. It's just Cook far side in front of the Pitt bench, calls out a play, and works the basketball towards the middle. Picked up her dribble now, had to force it in for Miller, and then it was knocked away by Pitt. It'll stay with Maryland with 15 to shoot as Masonis returns for Miller. Miller comes sprinting over to the Maryland bench. Great energy from her early in this game. Myers will trigger it in with 3:15 remaining in the first quarter on the final day of the Fort Myers tip-off. Cook dribbles it to the right wing. Looking around for somebody, forces it to Myers, who swings it. Really good look for Alexander for 3, and she buries it. The Vanderbilt transfer, Brene Alexander, extends it to a 5-point lead for the Terps. Skip pass to the other side. Lewis gets it ahead to Strickland, and now backing it out is Johnson. Panthers play catch up top. This is Harris to the near side for Lewis. Lewis able to dump it down low to the block. Post move, Masonis comes over to help. King has to give it up. Open 3 for Harris. It's a long one. It's no good, and Alexander tracks down the rebound. Maryland with the basketball, leading by 5. Cook races across the timeline into the lane. Righty floater is good, but they're going to call a travel. One too many steps for Gia Cook, who was just a little bit out of control there, and that's what they're trying to rein in for the freshman out of Bishop McNamara. Is going to be such a major force for this team. But right now, they will send her to the bench in favor of the fifth-year senior Pinzon USF transfer back in at the point guard spot. And at the top of this pressure for Maryland, they fire it ahead to the Panthers. On the near side, Johnson looks around. They have not gotten much going inside so far in this game. Lewis will drive left towards the baseline on Pinzon, lofts it across the other side. Now to the elbow. On the drive, it's Brown. Brown trying to circle through. Masonis got a hand on the pass. But we have a 3-second call instead as Leatu King was stationary in the paint. And so it's a Pittsburgh turnover, and Maryland gets it back, leading by 5 with under 2 minutes to play in the first quarter. Pinzon brings it across to the Rocket Mortgage logo on the left side. Bounce past Myers. Myers fadeaway 10-footer, and she banked it in. Beautiful shot from Abby Myers to give Maryland their largest lead of the day. It's 16-9 Terrapins. Here's the drive, now the kick. This is Lewis on the right side. Lewis gets inside, kicks to the corner. The Harris 3 is off the mark, and the weak side rebound to Alexander. Pinzon, the long pass to Masonis. It was knocked out of bounds along the end line. It'll stay with Maryland. Miller and Masonis have not been shy to race ahead of that Pittsburgh transition defense. That time the Panthers got back enough to at least knock that pass away. Myers will inbound from under the Pittsburgh hoop. Briggs rolls to the far side. Now it's Myers, top of the key. Drives inside all the way to the rim. The righty layup is too strong and knocked around one by Pitt. Missed opportunity there for Maryland as Johnson secures it for the Panthers. Now it's Lewis on the near side, defended by Myers. Gets a screen, works it to the middle. Now on the right side, we have an offensive foul. Hutcherson threw an elbow down low, and Alexander drew the foul. And Maryland will get it back. And for the first time today, we will see Marley Washenitz come in for the Panthers. Played 12 minutes at the point guard spot yesterday. Had some good energy plays for the Panthers, and Washenitz in for the first time. Here is Pinzon on the drive. Righty hook shot is no good. And we have a foul on the rebound. Abby Myers ended up on her backside under the hoop. and it's going to be a push against the Panthers. That is just their 4th team foul of the quarter. So no free throws for the Terrapins, but they will have the basketball under the hoop. Pinzon will send it in. Curling around, it's Briggs. Long 2, and she's fouled. A foul on the jump shot, and Lavender Briggs will have a couple of free throws. Oh, this is a transfer-heavy group for Brenda Fries. Briggs, the transfer from Florida, where she averaged 15 points per game for the Gators over the last 3 years, to go with 6 rebounds and over 2 assists per game. She also averaged better than a steal per game at Florida. Misses the free throw here. Her best year was actually her sophomore season 2 years ago, where she started nearly every game for UF. She and Pinzon now back in Florida for this tournament, as Briggs makes the second to give the Terps an 8-point lead, 17-9 with under a minute to go in the first quarter. Washenitz gets it across midcourt for Pitt. Defended tightly by Myers. They work it around to the far side for Johnson. Johnson puts it on the deck and has to pick up her dribble. Good defense by Alexander. A reset now to Hutcherson. Defended by Masonis. Hutcherson gets down the lane, puts a righty floater up, and it's good. Right over Masonis. Strong play by Hutcherson to get Pitt into double digits. Briggs through the leg dribble, drives down the left baseline. Lobs it for Alexander. Alexander, a ball fake, and resets to Pinzon. Shot clock is off. Maryland can hold for the final shot. Masonis resets to Pinzon with 10 seconds and counting to go in the first. Pinzon calls for the Masonis screen. Drives left into a couple yellow jerseys. Scoops it up. Didn't get the roll. Masonis battles for it underneath, and it's going to go to Pittsburgh with 1.7 seconds remaining. Good ball movement and aggressiveness there for Maryland, but not able to score. A 6-point lead. It'll be a desperation heave at best, and no, they're not even going to shoot it as the Panthers let that buzzer sound. We're at the end of one quarter here on the final day of the Elevance Health Fort Myers tip-off. It's your Terrapins 17 and the Panthers 11 here on the Maryland Radio Network. John Vittas welcoming you back to Fort Myers, Florida as we start the second quarter. Your Terrapins have a 6-point lead, and it's been great to catch up with some alumnus here at the facility here this weekend. There are a few dozen Maryland fans situated behind the bench and throughout the arena. Whenever the Terps go on the road, especially for a holiday tournament like this, the local alumni show up in force. Got a chance to catch up with some 1970s and 80s alum who are very excited to make the trip here to Southwest Florida to cheer on their Terps. Number 14, Maryland, with a 6-point lead as Pitt starts with the ball here in the second quarter, working from left to right on your dial. Panthers have already used 10 players in this game, and there's a block. Miller erases the jumper and is headed back the other way for Maryland. Miller drawing a lot of attention. 3 jerseys crashing on her, so they kick it to Sellers. Sellers will reset to Myers. Myers, the leading scorer in this game with 7, tries the 3 from the wing, and it's short. Briggs got close to the rebound and got a hand on it, and they say it's out of bounds off of her. It's the transfers leading the way right now for the Terps. Myers with 7 points, and Brene Alexander with 5. Diamond Miller, 4 points, 5 rebounds, only played 4 minutes and 42 seconds in the first quarter. There's a steal. Sellers gets it and bangs it in. Sellers with the steal and the bucket for Maryland. 8-point lead as Pitt breaks the pressure. Brown pulls up from 10, goes over Masonis, air ball long, and Miller got her hand on the board. It went out of bounds as Hutcherson was battling for it as well. And so the Panthers will get it back, down by 8. Pitt led by fifth-year head coach Lance White, looking for his first winning season with Pittsburgh. Hutcherson the jumper, and it's out of bounds. Sellers tried to catch it so she could run the other way. Otherwise, that would have been an air ball out of bounds, but she couldn't control it, and so it goes back to the Panthers with 19 on the shot clock. There's a lob. Johnson leans in, missed the shot, off the window, no good. And it's Briggs with the rebound. Long pass ahead. Myers is ahead of the defense, and Abby Myers lays it in for Maryland. A 10-point lead, first double-digit lead of the day for the Terps. More full-court pressure with Sellers leading that charge right now. Here's Shanice Lewis backing it out, using that screen. Spin move through the lane, pulls up at the elbow. Masonis playing good defense. Nice move underneath by Brown, who lays it in. Able to navigate through a couple of Terps and score for Pitt to make it an 8-point game. Briggs hands to Myers, back to Briggs, wide open, long 2 is off the mark. High rebound brought in by the Panthers, and then Miller is going to be whistled for the foul on the rebound. Just the first on Miller, who has had to battle through some foul issues in this tournament. Was on and off the bench throughout Friday's game, and then played 26 minutes yesterday. Actually, 26 minutes in both games for Diamond Miller. They'd probably like her to be closer to 30. But they've had plenty of experience playing without here. Here's the drive by Lewis. Tried to fit it down low for Brown, but it was knocked away by Maryland. Good defense from Sellers and Briggs on that play. And it's a baseline inbound for Pittsburgh, trailing by 8 with 8:06 to go in the half. Lewis looking. Has to lob high for Johnson, who hands back to Lewis. Masonis with a hand up in her former teammate's face. Now it's Lewis circling through. Puts a floater up and scores right over Briggs. Lewis scores again. It's 6 early points for Shanice Lewis. Through the leg dribble, spin move. Look at that move by Briggs. Fades away but missed the shot. Offensive rebound, Diamond Miller. Miller turning again. Lefty scoop shot doesn't go, and the rebound handled by the Panthers. And great effort by Miller, just not able to finish down low. Here comes Lewis through the defense. Tough shot. Good defense from Myers. Masonis the rebound. Outlet pass to Miller. Angular attack. Gives it up. Myers the floater. It's short. Myers the offensive rebound, and it's ripped away by Harris. Stationette Harris with a good play to earn possession for Pittsburgh, who now trails by only 6. Using the screen from Brown. Briggs disrupting the pass. And a reach-in foul on Briggs. So Harris and the Panthers will get it back. Alexander going to check back in for Briggs. We mentioned the success in the SEC for Briggs in Florida. Alexander had a lot of success at Vanderbilt, led the Commodores in scoring last year, just like Briggs, 15 points per game. Much lower total so far with the Terps, but playing good defense in this game. There's a pull-up, wide open for 3. Strickland hits it, and it's down to just a 3-point game. Maryland 21, Pittsburgh 18, with 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. Sellers walks it up for the Terps, defended one-on-one with Harris. Waits for Miller to get open up top, around the Masonis screen. Miller drives, gets inside, has to kick. Masonis will fire it to the far side for Sellers. They lob it down low, and Miller draws the foul. Hayford tried to get a hand on the entry pass, and is called for the reach. Just the first foul of the quarter for Pittsburgh. Abby Myers, who has been terrific so far today, will come out. Pins on, the USF transfer comes in. 7-0 run for the Panthers to get back in this. Miller pulls the corner three, too strong. And the rebound to Hayford, who's going to run for the Panthers. Outlet pass to Harris, defended tightly by Pinzon at the top of the key. Harris gets around Pinzon, and then the foul is called. Pinzon reached in. That's the third team foul of the quarter already for Maryland with 6.5 minutes to go. So a far sideline inbound for the Panthers, trailing by only 3. Pittsburgh played right with DePaul in the first half yesterday. They were down only 1 point at halftime, but ultimately lost by 15 as the Blue Demons will go for a 3-0 weekend later on this afternoon. Hayford gives it up to Strickland. Strickland, the lob pass underneath, and it's too strong. King couldn't get high enough for it. Would have been trapped along the end line anyway. And so Maryland forces a turnover and gets the ball back, leading by 3 with 6:15 and counting. Pinzon hands to Miller, who curls around to the top of the lane. And we have a foul away from the ball. It's going to be against the Panthers on Johnson. They'll bring Brown back in for Johnson, who now has 2 fouls. Or check it, 1 foul for Johnson. Masonis gets the pass from Miller, now back to Faith, right side Sellers. Swings it to the left for Pinzon, fires down low. Alexander the pass for Miller, and Miller draws the foul. Good quick release there from Alexander, because as soon as the defense realizes that Miller's in an advantageous spot to score, they just completely crash on her. It's got to be frustrating for Diamond Miller to have to battle through double teams and triple teams all the time, but unfortunately that's going to be a theme all season. Goes to the line to shoot 2 here and makes the first. Despite this newer roster for Brenda Freeze, the Terps have challenged themselves yet again in the non-conference slate. They've got back-to-back matchups against ranked teams after this game today. They'll be at Notre Dame on Thursday and home against a ranked Nebraska team on Sunday back at Xfinity Center. Free throw good. Maryland leads by 5. And then Harris had to tighten up the sideline to avoid a turnover. Pittsburgh does get it across midcourt, though. Brown to the end line for King. Now back to Hayford on the far side. Hayford going to try and drive around Pinzon. Pulls up. Bank shot no good. Pinzon the rebound. Fires it up ahead to Masonis. Now back to Sellers, top of the arc. Pinzon was open. Thought about driving. Instead, pulls up her dribble and finds Miller on the left side. Miller curls towards the corner, now backs it out. Fires it cross court, and it's out of bounds. A turnover from Miller trying to lead Pinzon to the corner. And Pinzon points back the other direction and just says, give it to me where I was. Just some kinks to iron out for some of these newer players working with some returners like Miller and Masonis. We get our first look at Mila Reynolds, who comes in for Maryland. Indiana native, the freshman is in. Hayford across half court. Near side, Brown resets to Hayford. 5:15 to go in the half. Maryland by 5 on the drive. Strickland all the way through, but missed the layup. Great move, but couldn't finish. And then Pinzon had it poked away in the corner as King tried to get the possession back for Pittsburgh. And so Maryland will have it. Alexander will send it into Pinzon as Pitt backs all the way up to play defense. 5:08 to go in the half. Maryland 23, Pittsburgh 18. Another lower scoring first half for Maryland in this tournament. The second half yesterday was by far their best half of the weekend. There's the kick. Corner 3 is up and no good. Sellers, though, gets it back and hits the long 2. Alexander missed the 3, but Sellers makes the 2, and it's a 7-point lead for Maryland. Double team underneath. Ball was poked free. Knocked away. Here comes Sellers. Pitt gets back on defense. Sellers pushes around the back dribble, looking for a teammate. Shovels it to Pinzon. Corner pass to Alexander. Alexander tees up the 3, and it's too strong. High rebound handled by Brown of the Panthers. Sellers goes down. No whistle. There's the lob to Strickland, and it's too high for her. Ends up on the Maryland bench as the Terps force a turnover. Turnover number 7 in the game for Pittsburgh. We will head to a break. 4:24 to go in the second quarter. It's Maryland by 7.
try to win great prizes, including Old Trafford beef jerky and more. Mason will start by making a layup, then a free throw, a three-pointer, and a half-court shot. Mason, are you ready? Set, go! He makes the layup. Now he's going for the free throw. Makes the free throw. Now time for the three-pointer. Oh no, Mason, you got 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Almost. Congratulations, Mason Big Italy. You are still going home with the prize pack courtesy of Old Trafford. Big Italy playing the Fort Myers tip-off shootouts. Thanks to Old Trafford for their support.
The 14th ranked Terrapins with a 25-18 lead here on the Maryland Radio Network. They just forced the 7th Pittsburgh turnover, and that was something that Brenda Fries harped on yesterday. After they were in the negatives, they had more turnovers than assists against DePaul in the loss on Friday. We're able to reverse that yesterday. Nearly a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio for Maryland yesterday. Took much better care of the ball, only 11 turnovers. And so far today, only 3 turnovers. So that has really benefited the Terps on what has been really a below-average shooting weekend so far. Here's Sellers with it for Maryland. Dribbles back and forth, gets it to Myers. Now Masonis will drive, kept it herself, pulls up at the elbow, gives it up. Briggs traveled with it. Briggs wanted to shoot the three, then tried to dribble over to the free throw line and kind of got caught in between. So it's a Maryland turnover. There's number 4 on the day. Both teams have gone cold here in the middle of the second quarter. Pittsburgh hasn't scored in over 3 minutes, and Maryland is 1 for their last 9 from the field as the Panthers throw it away. Sellers flips it back to Myers. Myers drives the baseline, dumps it down low for Masonis, and we have an offensive foul. Myers, after giving up the pass, bowled over the defender and is called for the offensive foul. Johnson replaces Strickland on the other side. Maryland getting set to apply some full court pressure. Alexander will replace Myers as well with 3:57 remaining in the second quarter. Hutcherson gets it to Lewis. Now Washenitz on the far side. Bounce pass back to Lewis. They have to get it across, and they do. Now on the near side, it's Hutcherson. Pass underneath. Lewis fakes the pass and then walked with it. A beautiful swooping move in the lane from Shanice Lewis. And the floater went down, but it won't count. Took one too many steps. So it's turnover number 9 for Pittsburgh. As Masonis dribbles it across midcourt on the near side, draws a double team. Here's the lob underneath for Miller, and it's knocked away. Stolen by the Panthers. Headed the other way, it's Lewis. Lewis around the back dribble. Washenitz now the bounce pass towards the end line. King drives inside, lays it up off the window and scores. Leah King with her second bucket. Pitt's leading scorer makes it 25-20. Snaps a long scoring drought, nearly 4 minutes without a point for Pittsburgh until that bucket. Miller will back it out and call out a play with 16 to shoot for the Terps. Miller drives to the elbow. Now swings it right for Briggs. Briggs will pull the long jump shot. That's no good. Alexander goes over the back on the rebound. It'll be a Maryland foul, which is their 5th of the quarter. So we have free throws coming for the Panthers. And in all of the opening halves in this tournament, Maryland just not able to pull away from their opponent. They led throughout against Towson yesterday, but there were some moments where we felt like they could have really blown that game open and just were not able to do it, ultimately winning by 11 against the Tigers. And former Maryland star on the other side, Laura Harper, coaching Towson yesterday. Free throw is up and no good from Leah-Tu King. King, a junior from Bishop McNamara, played with Gia Cook in high school. Makes the second one. Cuts it to a 4-point Maryland lead. As Strickland returns for Pitt. Little full court pressure from Hutcherson. Sellers will lob it to the near side for Diamond Miller. Miller across midcourt. Always drawing two defenders. Flips it to Briggs. Briggs hands to Sellers. Sellers at the logo. Dribbles right. Draws two yellow jerseys. Curling around now, it's Briggs. Here's Miller beyond the arc, left side. Puts it on the floor. Backs in. Looks. Bounce pass. Briggs the layup. Great job by Diamond Miller to keep her head up and find a cutting Briggs for two. And it's Maryland by 6 with 2:25 to go in the half. Top of the arc now. This is Shanice Lewis. Using the screen from Strickland. Fires to the near side. This is Harris. Gives it to Hutcherson, who resets to Strickland. Defended by Sellers up top. Handoff Johnson. Johnson trying to circle around. Sellers cuts her off. Tough shot over two defenders is good. Malia Johnson able to score from 18 feet over two Maryland Terrapins, and it's a 4-point game again. Sellers driving the lane, trying to get around the defender. She does and lays it in. Great move by Cheyenne Sellers to circle around Johnson and bank it in. Maryland back up by 6. Johnson in desperation mode has to flip it all the way back to midcourt for Lewis, who will slow things down with 1:37 to go. Lewis defended by Miller. Resets to Strickland. Long three from straight on is good. Avery Strickland makes it a 3-point game. Briggs shovels to Miller on the near side. Miller weaves through, spins, righty scoop is good. Diamond Miller uses the rim as it bounces in for the Terps. 5-point lead for Maryland. Strickland drops it to Hutcherson. A long three for her is off the mark. And then Miller fights with Strickland for the rebound and ends up with it. Diamond Miller just scooping up rebounds left and right. Good pass to the left for Briggs. On the block, she resets. Sellers for three. No. King with the rebound, or rather Harris with the rebound, up ahead to Lewis. Lewis now pushing. Pittsburgh will try the 16-footer. That's no good. Rebound saved by Briggs along the end line. Sellers the outlet pass. Masonis ahead of the pack, and Masonis lays it in. Outstanding outlet pass for Maryland, and the Terps go up by 7 with 35 seconds to go in the half. Terps lining the ball all up and down the court to stretch the lead to 7. Good, crisp passes all the way around. And then Masonis knocks it away, but it ends up with Pittsburgh. Hutcherson underneath, tried to score over Miller, could not. Nobody went for the rebound, and Harris comes in and draws the foul. Oh, Brenda Fries won't like that. After her team put together a few nice possessions in a row, 3 Terps just staring at each other on the rebound, and Lewis popped in there, picked up the basketball, and drew the foul. So 2 free throws here for Daishanette Harris. Maryland will get the final shot. 16 seconds remaining in the first half. Looks like Myers will come in for some shooting ability. She'll replace Masonis, as Harris will get 2 free throws to try and make it a 5-point game at the halftime break. Harris, a dribble, and the first free throw is wide to the left. Harris 0 for 3 from the field, does have 4 rebounds and 2 assists, but still searching for her first point. Harris, the second leading scorer at 10 points per game, misses the second as well, still scoreless. Maryland still up by 7. Sellers will walk it up with the clock down to 10 seconds to go in the half. Sellers circles right, now breaks left using the screen from Alexander. And Myers circles through for the open 3. It's no good. Long rebound to the corner, and the buzzer sounds. Neither team able to score there on their final possession, but Maryland will take a 7-point lead into halftime. Your score at the intermission, the Terrapins 33 and the Panthers 26. We will be back in about 10 minutes with some first half stats and the start of the second half. Maryland looking to finish the weekend 2-1 and end on a high note before they head back to the DMV. You're listening to Maryland Basketball here on FSWBucks.com and the One Maryland app.
right, thanks. Now time here at Halftime Entertainment presented by B&I Contractors, Florida's leading mechanical contractor. We're going to play Knockout, everyone's favorite game, Knockout. Everyone knows the rules. Everyone stands in a line. You shoot. If you miss, you have to make a layup. If you make it, goes to the next person. If the person behind you makes it for you, you are knocked out. Are we ready? Ready, set, go! Now one eliminated. Still alive. Another one down. We got 3 left. We're down to 2. If she hurries, she can knock it out. She didn't hurry. Could this be it? Almost. Not yet. Going for a 3-pointer. Would this be the knockout round? I think they're getting tired. If she hurries, we can knock it out. Almost. Is someone going to win this game? And we finally have a winner. Congratulations. That was your Halftime Entertainment presented by B&I Contractors. Quality, innovation, and value. Shout out to our sponsor, LVS Health, the proud title sponsor of the LVS Health Women's Fort Myers Football. LVS Health is lifetime trusted health partner. And Fort Myers, islands, beaches, and neighborhoods are spared where they live.
We welcome you back to the Elevance Health Fort Myers tip-off, streaming live on YouTube, the One Maryland app, and FSWBucks.com. I'm John Vittas, happy to have you along on the final day of this great event. Maryland with a 33-26 lead. Here at halftime, let's take a look at some of the first half numbers. Nobody in double figures for either team, so let's just establish that right away. Nobody with more than 6 for the Panthers. Maryland led by some of their upperclassmen. Abby Myers, the leading scorer in this game, 9 points, 4 rebounds on 4 of 11 from the field. Diamond Miller, the second leading scorer, 8 points and 8 rebounds, so on pace for 16 and 16 in this game. Only 3 out of 9 shooting, but has made a big impact on the defensive end as well. 2 blocks in the first half for Diamond Miller. These two teams shot very similarly from the field. Maryland 35% and Pittsburgh 34%. Remember, Maryland ended up just a shade below 50% in yesterday's win over Towson. They won 81-70, so we'll see if the shooting picks up for the Terrapins. But aside from the shooting, a lot to be positive about if you're Brenda Freese. Maryland dominated in the paint, 18-8 in that category, 11-1 on fast break points. That was a category where Towson had the upper hand yesterday, but Maryland has done a great job running the court and getting ahead of the Pittsburgh transition defense. They've had at least 3 buckets ahead of the defense in transition. Pitt is leading in the bench points department, but that is no surprise since they play 12 players, and we'll see if anybody can get hot for Pitt and keep them in it, or maybe even pull the upset today. But the Maryland side, they've taken care of business, just again, not shooting it at a great clip, and if they pick it up in that department, they should be able to finish out this weekend 2-1. Taking a look at the upcoming schedule for Maryland women's hoops, we already mentioned it. They will be in South Bend on Thursday to face number 9 Notre Dame. That game will be on ESPN2 at 6:30 before returning home to Xfinity Center on Sunday, December 4th, a 1 p.m. matchup with nationally ranked Nebraska. And then 2 more tough games after that, at Purdue on December 8th and home against number 6 UConn on Sunday the 11th. So if you're a Maryland fan, clear your Sundays because you've got this game here today and then 2 home games the next 2 Sundays against number 22 Nebraska and number 6 UConn. That UConn game will be on ABC, so nationally televised, before the Terps go back to the state of Indiana to play Purdue-Fort Wayne. And it's just 1 game home, 1 game away on the schedule the next few weeks for Maryland before they head into Big Ten play. Nothing but Big Ten games after Christmas. They start off the stretch of Big Ten games with the Minnesota Golden Gophers at home on December 30th. So some exciting upcoming games for this Maryland team. They're still trying to knock out the kinks with 9 new players in the rotation. Brenda Freese talked with us about that on Thursday before this tournament began, that this 3-game and 3-day setup really helps her learn a lot about this team, see which combinations of players works, which combinations might not, and to see which of these transfers is going to step up. Abby Myers has been outstanding, the transfer from Princeton, but the scoring totals have been low for all the other transfers. So for players like Briggs and Alexander out of the SEC, Pinzon from USF, we'll see which of them step up. We did see 2 of the freshmen in the first half in today's game, but Gia Cook and Mila Reynolds only played 1 minute each. So we'll see if Brenda Freese gives them a little more run in the second half, especially if Maryland can build a double-digit lead against the Panthers, who are 5-1 on the early season and trailing by 7 here at halftime. We will take one final break, and we'll be back in 1 minute and 10 seconds for the start of the second half here from the Suncoast Credit Union Arena. You're listening to Maryland Basketball. We bring you back to the Suncoast Credit Union Arena here at the Elevance Health Fort Myers tip-off. Abby Myers will inbound for the Terps, out there with Pinzon, Masonis, Sellers, and Miller to start the second half. Maryland in the white, working from left to right, and the Panthers in the yellow, now working from right to left. Masonis lobs for Miller, and a foul right away as Miller got pinned down underneath. And so the first foul of the half immediately goes against the Panthers. And both teams shooting in the mid-30s in terms of field goal percentage in the first half. We'll see if the scoring picks up. Sellers, a good look from two, is off the mark. Miller, an offensive rebound. Miller turns. Scoop shot is no good. Tapped around and brought in by Johnson. And then Johnson is fouled by Miller. Not exactly where you want Diamond Miller to commit a foul, all the way deep in the offensive end. That is her second foul. Sellers, Miller, and Myers all with two for the Terps. Maryland 33, Pittsburgh 26. Panthers looking to break the press, firing it up ahead. Cross-court pass back to Lewis now. They'll reset. Only 18 on the shot clock, though. Lewis dribbles left, bounce pass, top of the arc. Now handed to Johnson on the far side. Bounce pass to the middle. To Brown, left side. Open three, no good. Rebound to Masonis. And Pinzon dribbles it up for Maryland. Hands to Miller. Miller on the left wing, works towards the middle. Bounce pass for Myers. Myers will take the long two, and it's down. Abby Myers with another jumper. The Princeton transfer is the first player into double digits, now with 11 points for the Terps. A 9-point lead for Maryland as Pittsburgh breaks the press. Johnson up ahead. This is Strickland. They work it around to the far side. Lewis. One-on-one with Sellers. Now to Johnson. Johnson pulls the three and knocks it down. Malia Johnson with her second three of the game. Now leading the Panthers with 8 points. Pinzon to Masonis, top of the key. Masonis lefty dribble. Hands to Myers. Myers changes directions. Down the lane all the way through and draws the foul. Not a lot of contact from Strickland, but Myers will take it. Was trying to spin it off the backboard and couldn't quite get the handle as she went up strong. But Abby Myers will have two free throws. Her first two trips to the line today. Maryland is +4 from the free throw line. Neither team, though, has shot it all that often from the line. Maryland 5 for 6. Pittsburgh 1 for 4. As Abby makes the first. She was an honorable mention All-American at Princeton last year. Scored over 1,000 points in her career. Ivy League Player of the Year, 18 points per game last year for the Tigers. Makes the second. Maryland goes back up by 8 here in the early going of the third quarter. Crossover dribble for Lewis. Gets herself free to set up the offense for the Panthers. Uses a screen and then gets fouled. Pinzon will be called for the contact. Second team foul against the Terps in the quarter. Inbound on the far sideline for the Panthers. Maryland looking to get to 6-2 on the early season. Lewis uses the screen. Defended by Sellers. Now it goes to the corner. On the drive, it's Johnson. Sealed off nicely by Myers. And then there's a turnover. Lost the handle. King lost the handle. Pins on the outlet pass. Sellers lays it up, but missed it. A great look for Cheyenne Sellers, and it's King headed back the other way for Pitt. Strickland now with it on the logo. Hands to Lewis. Oh, missed opportunity again in transition. Maryland hustling, but not able to score. Here's the shovel pass, and then heavy contact, and a travel is called as Myers collided with Brown, and they say Brown traveled, shuffled her feet before the contact. Diamond Miller will come out. Lavender Briggs is in for the Terps. And Coach Freeze with a lot to say to Diamond Miller. And now Miller going to the corner to get away from all that chatter on the bench. Down the lane, there's the kick out. Masonis drives all the way through. Tough lefty scoop, no good. Briggs got her hand on the rebound, but it's secured by Hutcherson. As some of the Terps looking down the tunnel to see where Diamond Miller is headed. She has been in and out of this game. Hutcherson down the lane, pass deflected. Layup is up and good. Good finish from Leah 2 King, and it's a 6-point game. There's a spin move. Nice move by Briggs. Missed the shot. Briggs the offensive rebound, and the putback is down, plus the foul. Lavender Briggs with a chance for a 3-point play. Maryland would love to see Briggs provide some extra production here in the second half. Looking to make it a 9-point game. The free throw is up and good for Briggs. Maryland 40, Pittsburgh 31 with 6:56 to go in the third. Full court pressure from Sellers. Lewis launches it down the court to Johnson. Now on the baseline, a bounce pass for King. King working on Masonis, draws the foul, goes down hard. It'll be 2 free throws for King. Masonis has been Maryland's best interior defender this weekend. And Alexander will come back in for Masonis. When Maryland has gone on runs, Faith Masonis has been at the heart of it. More quiet today offensively, only 2 points so far for Faith, who was in double figures the last 2 days. But she is just such a steadying force for this team. Coach Brenda Fraze talked about it post-game with us as the first free throw is no good. Said, I don't know where this team would be right now without Faith Masonis, who had ACL surgery in January of this year and is back on the court playing over 20 minutes a game just 10 months later. Free throw goes down for King. She splits the pair. It's an 8-point lead for the Terps. Briggs, diagonal pass up ahead to Sellers. They play catch now in the corner. Alexander, bounce pass for Myers. Myers to a cutting Briggs, and Briggs banks it in. Great find from Myers and a better finish from Briggs. And it's Briggs providing the offense right now for Maryland. A 10-point lead for the Terps. Pass to the corner, open look for 3 for Pitt, and it's down. Johnson with her third 3 of the game, and it's back to a 7-point margin. Diamond Miller just returned from the tunnel. Needed some time to clear her head and is now back out there and at least available off the bench right now. Myers straight on for 3, book it! Abby Myers extends the lead back up to double digits for Maryland. Here's Lewis working on her fellow number 10 in Myers. Resets to Hutcherson. Left side now, it's Harris. 5:46 to go in the third. Maryland by 10. Here's a 3 for Pittsburgh. Back of the rim, no good on a good look. Rebound to Briggs. Sellers up ahead to Pinzon. Open 3 for Alexander, and Alexander knocks it down. The SEC transfers doing the heavy lifting for Maryland here in the third. It's a 13-point lead, the largest advantage for Maryland today. 5:33 to go in the third, and the Panthers use a timeout. It'll be immediate timeout here in Fort Myers. It's Maryland by 13. We welcome you back here on the Maryland Radio Network. John Vittas with you from Fort Myers. As much energy right now for the Maryland Terrapins as we've seen all weekend, and we noticed it right from the jump today. There was just a little more juice on that sideline, and Brenda Fries was very vocal in that timeout. Faith Masonis actually got the coaching going. She had a lot to say to her teammates there after a great stretch of play. A 6-0 run in 32 seconds for the Terps. They've made 4 shots in a row to build the lead up to 13 points. Largest lead today for Maryland against old ACC rival Pittsburgh. There's a screen, and then a foul on very little contact against Briggs. Lewis just barely got a piece of her, and they call the blocking foul on Briggs. Maryland sending Gia Cook over to the scorer's table. She will come in. Freshman point guard replaces Sellers with 5:23 on the game clock here in the third. Johnson to trigger it in for Pittsburgh. Bounce pass to Lewis from the Fort Myers tip-off logo. Resets to Hutcherson. Had a step, gets inside. Off the window, no good. Offensive rebound and putback is there for Brown. Amber Brown with some garbage points to get Pitt within 11. Gia Cook with the basketball for Maryland. Works her way back towards the middle and looks around as the Terps set up their offense. Here's Briggs on the wing, and she's going to get whistled for a travel. Started attacking before she put the ball on the floor, and that'll take us to another media timeout. 4:58 to go in the third. It's Maryland 48 and Pittsburgh 37 here on the Maryland Radio Network. Pittsburgh will have the basketball as we come out of the third quarter media timeout. Maryland leads by 11. Gia Cook remains in there along with Myers, Masonis, Alexander, and Briggs. Diamond Miller has spent the majority of this third quarter on the bench. There's a turning trap. Lewis got rid of it, found Johnson, who now hands back to Lewis. Lewis had some space, tried to get inside, resets to Washenitz. Bounce pass underneath. This is Brown. Brown gets around Alexander, and then Alexander swats it away from behind, launches it down court. It bounces to Masonis, who resets to Briggs. Here's Alexander, gets it to Cook, and Cook traveled. A lot of these Maryland turnovers today have been walks, just going a little too quick. That's only the 8th turnover. I would venture to say 4 or 5 of the 8 turnovers have been travels against Maryland. Maryland is +3, though, in the turnover department. and shooting it at a 50% clip here in the third quarter. So just like yesterday, they've improved their efficiency in the second half. Johnson working on Masonis. Kicks it for Hutcherson. Long three, high rebound, tapped around, and Faith Masonis ends up with it. Washington's tried to tie her up, but Maryland comes away with it. Here's Gia Cook, right wing. Hands to Alexander, pulls up for three, and buries it. Brene Alexander extends the lead for Maryland. A 14-point lead, 51-37 Terrapins. Looking to finish the weekend 2-1 and take down an ACC opponent here this afternoon. Washinitz had to pick up her dribble, gets it to Hutcherson. Right side Johnson. Thought about another three. Instead, it's Lewis. Dumps it down low. Hutcherson lost the defender and lays it up and in. Gia Cook went down. No foul call, though. And it's back down to a 12-point game. Cook with it in front of Brenda Freeze, crosses over on Washinitz, and then lost it on the way through. Hutcherson, the outlet pass. Johnson running one-on-one with Myers, and Abby Myers pulls it away. A steal from Abby Myers. She's headed back the other direction, all the way through the lane, and a foul right away on Washinitz. It'll be on the floor, team foul number 4 against the Panthers, so a side out under the hoop for Maryland. Cook will come out as Sellers returns. So Cook, of the 4 Maryland freshmen, has played the most, but not as much impact today as the first 2 days of this tournament where she played great. Briggs kicks. Sellers gets inside. Righty hook shot, no good. Ball is still loose. Briggs wins it. Kicks it outside. Alexander wants another one and hits. Brene Alexander again. Gives Maryland a 15-point lead. 14 points for Alexander. Washington fires it down low into traffic. King has it ripped away. Alexander and Briggs on the steal. Masonis runs the floor, gets a diagonal pass off the window and in. Everything coming up roses for the Terps. Masonis muscles it through traffic, banks it in for the Terps. 17-point lead for Maryland. Brene Alexander lighting it up from beyond the arc, and then Masonis doing what she does best, hustles down the court and able to score through 2 defenders, makes the free throw, completes the three-point play, and it's 57-39 Terrapins. Largest lead of the tournament for Maryland. Johnson, the bounce pass underneath, and it's another Pittsburgh turnover as Brown couldn't catch it. And Maryland gets it again. They're doing all of this without Diamond Miller in the game. Miller has played less than 1 minute in this third quarter. On the drive, it's Sellers, had it knocked away. Alexander gets it back. Briggs tries the baseline, draws the double team. Resets to Alexander, feeling good. That one's short. Rebound, though, to Sellers, and she gets hit hard on the 10-foot baseline jumper. 2 free throws on the way for Cheyenne Sellers. There's just so much more flow to the offense now. You know, it's taken them 7 or 8 games, but you just get the feeling that Briggs and Alexander are starting to feel better and better with this group around them. See Myers and Alexander having a chat, give each other a high five at midcourt as Sellers makes the first free throw. And that's what these tournaments will do for a team. Build a little chemistry, a little fluidity on offense. Sellers tees up the second, and it is good. We will see Bree McDaniel check in for the first time. The 3rd freshman to see action today. They'll give Masonis a breather with exactly 2 minutes on the clock here in the third quarter. Maryland now with a 20-point lead, 59-39 on Pitt. They led by 7 at the half. They lead by 20 points now. This is Hayford. We haven't seen her in a while, and McDaniel picks up a quick foul. That is going to be the 5th foul on the Terps, so it'll put Pitt in the bonus. Hayford will have 2 free throws. McDaniel being called over by Brenda Freeze. Has been in for all of 8 seconds and now has a foul. I think Brenda's pointing at the scoreboard saying, you see that? Now they're in the bonus. Hayford, look at that low dribble before she lines it up, and the first one is good. She's been fun to watch this weekend. Amy Hayford, that's her first point of this game. Has taken only one shot, has played less minutes today than in the first two games of this Fort Myers tip-off. Second free throw is good. So she got them both, down to an 18-point game. 59-41 Maryland with 1:48 and counting here in the third. McDaniel wide open on the far side, receives the long pass, now kicks to Myers. Myers, a good ball fake, draws three defenders, tried to kick it to McDaniel in the corner, but draws the foul first. Maryland now in the bonus as well. Abby Myers will shoot a couple of free throws. Myers with a game-high 16 points, a chance to add to it here. Came into the Fort Myers tip-off, averaging 15.6 points per game. She makes the first, is now over that number of 15.6. Second free throw is good as well. Back to a 20-point lead for Maryland. Hayford brings it up for Pittsburgh. Defended by McDaniel. Right side, Washington's on the wing. Washington's back to the top of the key. They work it around to the left side for Hayford. Gets the screen from Brown. Into the corner. Washington's a ball fake. Tries to drive by Sellers. Instead, dumps it to Brown. Brown lays it off the window and scores right through a couple of white jerseys. A nice job by Amber Brown to score. McDaniel drives the baseline hard. Kicks to the corner. Briggs tees it up, and that's going to be a travel. That was a long two that spun off the rim. And Briggs called for the travel, shuffled her feet before letting that one fly. Turnover number 10 for Maryland. They had only 11 yesterday in the win over Towson. On the drive, Hayford got by, dumps it down low. Brown goes up strong again. And I think that was a block for Sellers. Up ahead go the Terps. Alexander running the floor. Finds Myers. Myers down to the block, backing in, drops it for Sellers, and Sellers will go to the free throw line. Cheyenne Sellers not shy to put the ball up as she was hit hard. Third foul against Brown. And Sellers back to the free throw line. 8 points for Sellers, Briggs, and Miller. First one is up and through. Mila Reynolds comes back over to the scoring table. She will enter after this next free throw. Sellers' second is good. Got the roll. 4 for 4 now from the line. As Reynolds comes in for Alexander with 51 seconds remaining in the third. It's Maryland 63 and Pittsburgh 43 here from the Suncoast Credit Union Arena. Hayford dribbles right, almost had it poked away. Now they're going to get Myers for the foul. Myers looking up, incredulous with the official. That'll be her third foul. Hayford's going to get the free throws there. A little confusion on who was going to shoot. So Hayford gets 2 free throws. Myers made a good aggressive play. I think that's a foul that the Terps can live with, even though it does come pretty far from the basket. Hayford's first is up and no good. Washington's, by the way, for Pitt over at the midcourt logo, is playing with 4 fouls. So they've kept her in despite picking up 4 fouls in only 7 minutes on the court. Second free throw is down. Hayford splits the pair. 19-point lead for Maryland. Long pass from Sellers. McDaniel in the near corner. Drives to the free throw line. Kicks to Sellers. Sellers down the baseline. Fires it towards the other corner. And Strickland was able to cut her off and knock it away. Out of bounds to Maryland with 36 seconds on the game clock. 21 on the shot clock. Sellers lobs to Myers on the wing. Myers open for 3. Book it! Abby Myers drains the triple, and Maryland goes up by 22. 66-44 as the threes continue to fall for the Terrapins. Hayford on the near side. Gets all the way through, kicks it to Washington. She's wide open for three, and Washington returns the favor for Pitt. Back down to 19. First points of the game for Washington. Oh, Sellers almost had it poked away. Game clock down to 4. Myers the ball fake. Myers shovels to Sellers. She'll try the three and nails it. Cheyenne Sellers at the buzzer for Maryland. The threes going down in this quarter. Maryland 6 for 7 from 3 in the third quarter, and they have opened up a 22-point lead on their old ACC rival. We will head to the fourth on the Maryland Radio Network with Maryland leading by 22. We welcome you back to the Elevance Health Fort Myers tip-off. Oh, what a thrill it's been for me to call these 3 games here this weekend. Filling in for Matt Noble and the great announcing crew led by Johnny Holliday back in College Park. As a class of 2015 graduate at Maryland, thank you to the athletic department for trusting me with these 3 games. I want to give a special thank you to Jason Yellen, John Sinnott, and Rose DePaulo for all their help getting this set up here from Fort Myers, and hopefully you've enjoyed the calls here on the Maryland Radio Network. 69-47, Terps in control as we start the fourth quarter. The threes were falling in bunches for Maryland there in the third. There's a floater by Brown, tried to use the glass, and it's knocked around underneath. Briggs ends up with the rebound for the Terps. 6 for 7 from 3 in that third quarter. McDaniel thought about it. Couple of ball fakes, drives the baseline, dishes it down low. Reynolds on the bank shot, and it goes. Mila Reynolds with the bucket. The freshman scores on the feed from the other freshman, Bree McDaniel. And Maryland leads by 24. 3 from straight on is off the mark from Taisha Exenor. Here's a long pass from Pinzon up ahead. Myers had it knocked away by Brown. Again, Myers playing well today. It's been her best game of the tournament. Myers with a game-high 21 for Maryland. 3 Terps in double figures. Myers from the wing has that one rattle off. Washington's the rebound. Maryland had the same 4 players in double digits in each of the first 2 games of the tournament, as there's a foul against Maryland in transition. But in the first game against DePaul, nobody had more than 13 for the Terps. And today they already have 3 players at 13 points or more. And keep in mind, Diamond Miller has only played 17 minutes, has played less than 1 minute in this second half. There's a floater, and it goes in for Exenor to cut it to 22. Now we have a whistle. I think they have a clock issue. Yeah, clock never started running there after the make. So they'll take a few seconds off the shot clock with 1 minute elapsed here in the fourth quarter. So right now it's Pinzon back in along with Briggs, Myers, Reynolds, and Alexander. McDaniel just came out. So here is Pinzon. USF transfer with it up top. Finds Briggs. Bounce pass for Reynolds just inside the arc. Reynolds, a ball fake, hands to Myers. Myers circles through, crossover dribble. Lost it, knocked away. Hutcherson the other direction for Pitt. Good defense. Alexander gets back to seal her off, and now Hutcherson backs it all the way out. It's a screen up top. Swings it right side. Here's the drive by Hutcherson. Pinzon got a hand on it. Wanted the call to go against Pitt, but Pitt will retain possession under the Maryland hoop with 19 to shoot. Terps up by 22. Hutcherson lobs. Or rather, Hayford lobs for Hutcherson. Now Washington's top of the arc. Uses the screen, steps back, open three, front rim no good. Saved, though, by Pitt. Washington's on the drive, lost it. Reynolds gets tied up with her, and it'll be a jump ball. I think Maryland's going to get it here. It will be Maryland ball. So Mila Reynolds will get credit for a steal there. Turnover number 16 for Pittsburgh. Rather, number 15 for Pittsburgh. Maryland with 11. Pinzon works it up, leading by 22. Gets the screen from Reynolds. Pinzon defended by Hutcherson. A lot of dribbling. Finds Alexander in the far corner. Dumped down for Reynolds. Knocked away by Hayford. And then Hutcherson has it stolen. Pinzon, the lefty layup goes down. A steal and an easy layup for Pinzon. After Pittsburgh appeared to be headed the other way on a fast break. There's the dump down by Hutcherson, and Reynolds knocked it away, but I believe they're going to get her for a foul holding the defender. And it is on Reynolds, who had one hand on the jersey of the player she was guarding and the other hand swatting away the basketball. Baseline inbound for the Panthers. Bounce pass. Hayford had it knocked away by Briggs. Scooped up by Reynolds. Reynolds will get it to the waiting hands of Alexander, who slings it up ahead to Pinzon. Pinzon probing through a couple of yellow jerseys. Gets the feedback from Reynolds. Left wing, cross-court pass, now right wing. This is Briggs. Dumped down for Reynolds. Reynolds on the baseline. Will kick it out. Pinzon opposite side. Now to the corner. Myers puts it on the deck. Myers top of the arc. Alexander tees up the long three, and it's down. Brene Alexander with her fifth three of the game. And Maryland builds the lead up to 27 points. 9 3-pointers made now for the Terps and 5 for Alexander as Hayford lays it in with the right hand on the other end. Outlet pass to Briggs. Briggs going to drive. Gets ahead of the defense and lays it home. Lavender Briggs, pedal to the middle, banks it in with the right hand, and the Terps go back up by 27. Double figures now for Briggs. And then a knockaway by Alexander. Washington gets it back. Corner three on the way, and it's good. Ace Malcolm hits the three for Pitt. Her first basket of the game. Malcolm's played only 5 minutes. Cuts it to 78-54. Things have really opened up here in the second half. The shots are falling now on both sides. Alexander gets inside. Long two. Rims out. Myers kept it alive. Briggs trying to chase it down and cannot. It's won by Pitt, and they dump it for Washington, who now will dribble it across midcourt. Outlet pass on the wing. Malcolm going to shoot again. That one's short. Offensive rebound to Pittsburgh. Put back no good by Exenor. Another offensive rebound for Hayford. Under 6 minutes to play. Maryland 78, Pittsburgh 54. Hutcherson, top of the arc, gives it a one dribble. Right-handed pass to the outside. Malcolm is trapped now by Myers. Able to find Hutcherson at the elbow. Fadeaway jumper from the baseline. Might have been blocked by Reynolds. And then Pinzon a great outlet pass. Myers ahead of the pack, lays it up and in. Beautiful find by Elisa Pinzon. Maryland starting to run it up offensively now. 80-54 is your score. That was a terrific pass by Pinzon over a defender and right in stride to a waiting Abby Myers. 23 points now for Myers. There's a turnaround floater for Hutcherson, and that one does not fall. Pinzon with the rebound and a timeout. Brenda Fries will use her first timeout to get Ava Ciola into the game for the first time this weekend. We will take a quick break and be right back on the Maryland Radio Network.
All right, fans, it's time for the second t-shirt toss of the game. If you want a free t-shirt, stand up and make some noise.
John Vittas bringing you back to Suncoast Credit Union Arena. Maryland 80, Pittsburgh 54. Terps were up 7 at the half, and they have blown it open here in the second. Mila Reynolds rolling to the rim is going to bank it in and have a chance for a three-point play. Mila Reynolds has been outstanding here in the second half for Maryland. And a great find as well from Brene Alexander. The three top transfers on this team, Myers, Alexander, and Briggs, all have set their Maryland highs today in this game. 23 for Myers, 17 for Alexander as that shot goes for Washenitz, and 10 for Lavender Briggs, whose high was 9 at George Mason. Here's Briggs, cross-court pass. Alexander on the near side, thought about taking the shot. They'll burn a little clock. Ava Ciola is in for the first time. Just the fourth game that she has gotten into this year. There's a steal by Strickland, headed back the other way for Pitt. Strickland into the white jerseys, and Alexander ripped it away and wins the arrow for Maryland. It'll stay with Pittsburgh, but Maryland will get the next one as Gia Cook comes in for Pinzon. Pinzon has 2 points but 5 assists. Washenitz fires it to the elbow. Strickland on the drive, goes left-handed. That one spins off the rim, no good. Cook got the hand on it, and Ciola cleans it up. Ciola, diagonal pass ahead to Cook. 3 freshmen in right now for Maryland, and then Gia gets swatted but draws the foul. Heavy contact as she ends up down on the baseline, a little slow to get up. And Coach Fries is going to bring in the 4th freshman, McDaniel. So now we'll see all 4 freshmen as Alexander comes out. 52 points from the Maryland transfers in this game. Roughly 60% of the scoring, maybe close to 70%. Coach Fries has come over to talk with Diamond Miller. So a very I guess you could say, impactful conversation for the future of Miller's season. She has not played much at all in the second half, and presumably Coach Freeze telling her why right now as the second free throw goes down. Miller left the Maryland bench for a few minutes there after she was pulled out of the game in the third quarter. Returned to the team after 2 or 3 minutes away and has just been on the bench helping out during timeouts ever since. As Pitt turns it over on a travel on the other end. 4:02 to go in this game. Maryland 85, Pitt 56. 29-point lead for the Terrapins. And some extended minutes now for the freshmen. It's 4 freshmen and Briggs in the game, who's a senior. Cook darts to the corner. McDaniel drives left. Resets up top to Ciola. Left side, it's Cook. And Cook is going to be called for the travel. 14 turnovers now for Maryland, and again, I would say at least half of them have been travels. And now the Panthers will empty the bench. A full line change for Pittsburgh. 5 subs come in. Some faces we've seen before, but others that we haven't. Destiny Strother comes in for the first time, number 13. And I believe we've seen everybody else at some point. Azaja is in as well. We haven't seen much of her in this game. We did see her yesterday. We saw Strother yesterday as well. From the near side, Lewis's 3 is good. So Shanice Lewis tacks on 3 against her former team. She now has 9 points on 4 of 9 from the field. Cook with it up top for Maryland. 3:20 remaining in this game. Terps will fly back home to College Park tonight. This is Briggs, tightly guarded. Looking for somebody to hand it to. Maybe a 5-second call here, and it's knocked away. Good defense from Azaja. It'll stay with Maryland with 6 on the shot clock. I don't recall the shot clock for Maryland getting below 10 seconds all day long. That one was knocked away by Strother. Ciola on the inbound, and now Coach Freeze will use a timeout to try and get the freshmen organized here, with Maryland leading 85-59. We'll be back in 30 seconds on the Maryland Radio Network. Maryland to inbound. This is Cook now sending it in. Lobs to Ciola, top of the arc. Bounce pass to the elbow for Reynolds. Reynolds, a long contested 2 is no good. Rebound brought in by Johnson for Pitt. Under 3 minutes to go, Maryland by 26. Top of the arc, around the back dribble from Lewis. Up top now for Exenor. Bounce pass underneath and a good move. Azaja missed the layup. Second effort, no good. And Ciola secures the rebound, but then has the pass deflected, and Pitt gets it back. They reset. Wide open look for Strother. It's no good. And Reynolds with a strong rebound for the Terps. Outlet pass to Lavender Briggs. Briggs spins at the elbow, gets inside. Righty scoop off the window, no good. Briggs able to get the offensive rebound, batting it around a couple of times. Resets to Gia Cook. Fresh 20 for the Terps with 2:18 and counting to go in this game. Ciola flashes on the baseline, bounce pass underneath, and then a reach-in foul against Reynolds. Just the third foul against the Panthers. So the clock will reset to 20 on the shot clock. And another baseline inbound for Maryland. Coach Brenda Freeze, very loud verbal cues there in the timeout with the freshmen, saying that we will execute regardless of the situation. Briggs steps back for 2. That one rims off, and the rebound handled by Pittsburgh. Across midcourt, Shanice Lewis fires it up ahead. Open 3 from the wing is no good from Johnson. Offensive rebound, back up with it is Exenor. That one doesn't fall. Ciola now gets tied up with Azaja, and the jump ball will give it to the Terps. So the freshmen are battling. They have at least done well on the defensive end. Pittsburgh just 1 for their last 7 from the field. It's young lineups on both sides as Washington returns for Pitt. Stay tuned. Brenda Fries will join us after the game. A lot to get to with her. The bright spot, 52 points from the transfers today. We're going to get into that with Coach Fries, as well as what she felt about, the team kind of building towards these bigger games here in December. Corner three is up and no good from Briggs. Long rebound brought in by Johnson. Had the pass deflected. Good effort by McDaniel, but not able to get the steal. Washenitz to midcourt. The lefty will tee up the three, and that one is no good. Offensive rebound, put back no good, but a foul and 2 free throws coming for Taisha Exenor. 1:28 to go in the quarter. It looks like the Terps will get out of here with a 2-1 weekend to secure a 6-2 record on the early season, with a big one coming up against Notre Dame. It'll be a 6:30 p.m. tip-off in South Bend on Thursday night. So only 3 days for the Terps to rest, recover, and practice to get ready for the Fighting Irish. Second one is good. 85-61 Terrapins. Gia Cook with it. Will burn some clock with 1:20 to go. This is Briggs, top of the arc, working with the 4 freshmen. Briggs back to Cook, top of the arc for Gia. Gia drives left in on Washenitz, draws the foul, and Gia Cook will have 2 free throws. Washenitz has fouled out, so she will exit as Ace Malcolm returns. A lot to be excited about with Gia Cook. Spins the basketball. First free throw is up and off the mark. Freshman from Clinton, Maryland. Went to 3 straight WCAC championship games at Bishop McNamara. Makes the second, 86-61 Terps. Exenor inbounds. Malcolm around the back dribble, defended tightly by Cook. The freshman trying to earn more minutes here late in this ball game. Johnson defended tightly by McDaniel. Baseline drive around Briggs. Pass to the corner. Strother gives it up. Azaja, the bounce pass to the end line. Johnson fadeaway jumper is short, and an easy rebound for Reynolds. Reynolds has done a really nice job down low. That's her second rebound to go with 5 points in only 11 minutes of action. Mila Reynolds with it. Bounce pass to Briggs. 30 seconds to go. Maryland will have one more shot here. Cook gets all the way through, lays it up. Can't finish, but Gia Cook will go back to the free throw line. That was a strong move to dribble around the defender and get off a clean shot, but missed it. So just to recap the days for the freshmen here at the end, Reynolds with 5 points in 11 minutes. Cook with 3 points in 8 minutes, trying to add to the total here. Misses the first. McDaniel didn't score, but did have an assist in 7 minutes. And Ava Ciola got her first action of this tournament and is back out there, has played 3 minutes so far. Cook makes the second. 87-61 Terps. Shot clock is off. One final shot here for the Panthers. This is Malcolm, top of the arc with 16 seconds and counting. Johnson going to dribble around. McDaniel went to the floor, lost her balance. McDaniel diving for it, and a jump ball. Panthers will get it, but the Maryland bench loves it. McDaniel continuing to play her tail off on the defensive end. Well, we're going to ask Coach Brenda Fries about the freshmen as well as all these points from the transfers as they get ready for Notre Dame and then UConn in the month of December. Also a big game against Nebraska. 9 seconds to go. Pitt inbounds the ball. Malcolm with 6 in front of Reynolds. Tries to cross over on Reynolds and does. Puts up the floater off the glass and scores with 1 second to go. Makes it a 23-point game, and that'll do it. The buzzer sounds for the final time for the Terps here in Fort Myers, Florida. Your final score here on Sunday, Maryland 87 and Pittsburgh 63. The Terps win 2 out of 3 here at their Thanksgiving tournament as they improve to 6-2 on the season. This win should keep them in the top 25. They will likely drop from their position at number 14 in the country, but should comfortably remain in the top 25, taking 2 out of 3 against good competition here at the Fort Myers tip-off. Brenda Fries will join us in just a moment as we take a look at some of the final numbers. Maryland highs for 3 of the 4 transfers. Myers with 23, Alexander with 17, and Briggs with 10. Maryland finishes the game shooting 44% and did a nice job defensively, +4 in the turnover battle, limiting Pittsburgh to just 36% from the field, including 6 for their last 21 in the game. As Maryland wins by 24, as we hand the mic over to Brenda Fries. And Coach Fries, first of all, there, a good look at the freshman there at the end, getting some minutes. Bree McDaniel all over the floor defensively. What did you see from the freshman there at the end?
Yeah, loved it. That's we've got to be able to extend our bench like that. I thought our starters and came out and extended that lead for us, and got to be able to continue to keep getting that experience for our new kids.
By my count, 52 points from your transfers today. 3 of the 4 set their season highs at the University of Maryland. Big day for Abby Myers. Brene Alexander, 5 for 8 from 3. How important is that for your team to get scoring from that group?
Yeah, it just opened it up. I mean, be able to see those threes by Bree, really extending it. Abby, great to be able to finally. Lav, I thought, shot the ball with a lot of confidence, and we're going to need that kind of contribution from everybody.
Last but not least, you finished the weekend with a 2-1 record. You told me before the week that this tournament was a great opportunity to learn about your group, see which matchups work and which matchups don't. What do you think you'll take away from this the most?
Well, I think you're still seeing, we're still learning, with this group. But I said today, 3 games in 3 days, the mental fortitude it was going to take, both physically and mentally, was going to be really important for us, and huge takeaways. I thought that we showed today that what we're capable with.
You got 3 tough games coming up. Quite a gauntlet here in early December. Matchups with Notre Dame, Nebraska, and then, of course, UConn. What do you have to do to get the team ready for those games?
Yeah, just one game at a time, just improving on our practices and, one game at a time.
Thank you for joining us coming up the stairs here at the Suncoast Arena.
Right.
Safe travels back to College Park, and thanks for all your help this weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Go Terps.
There you have it. Coach Fries with us post-game from the Suncoast Credit Union Arena as Maryland gets their best win of the weekend, 87-63 against an ACC opponent as Maryland improves to 6-2. Once again, huge thank you to the athletic department at Maryland for getting these broadcasts on the air here this weekend. It was an absolute pleasure to call my alma mater here in my home city of Fort Myers. Just some final numbers. Myers with 23, Alexander with 17, and Briggs with 10. All Maryland career highs for the transfers for this Terrapin team here in the 2022-23 season. Maryland going back to College Park tonight. A big matchup with Notre Dame on Thursday. Be sure to tune in on ESPN2 as Maryland takes on the Fighting Irish. For everybody here in Fort Myers with the Maryland Terrapins, I'm John Vittas saying so long from the Suncoast Credit Union Arena as the Terps take 2 out of 3 at the Elevance Health Fort Myers tip-off.